Please don't bother me, I'm on my lunch break. Pizza, burger, sandwich, lunch break, tofu, salad, hot dog, lunch break.
Are we rolling?
We are rolling. This is all being
Always.
recorded.
What is it? ABR? Always be rolling?
Sure.
Or recording?
Yeah.
Well, welcome to another episode of Lunch Break. I'm AJ.
I'm Kathleen.
And today we have a very special guest all the way from Atlanta. Came up 400, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Quite a trek from the big city out to, I feel like I'm in England with all the traffic circles on the way in.
Tell us about it.
So
please.
we have the owner of the Vortex, Michael Benoit.
That's me, Michael Benoit.
Not beignet.
Not beignet.
No, that's a donut.
That's a donut.
A French pastry.
Yeah. You've
Welcome.
been to New Orleans. You know about beignets.
Oh, yeah.
We actually had a whole episode about Kathleen going to New Orleans.
I love New Orleans.
Oh, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite American cities
Me too.
because it's crazy.
Yes, exactly.
It's, like every country's flag has flown over that city at one point in history. There's all that weird juju down there.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, Michael, you're not originally from Atlanta.
No, I'm not, except that I have now lived here longer than I lived where I was from. I moved here in 1991 from Los Angeles, California.
The City of Angels.
That is correct. and because I don't know if you've ever been to Los Angeles.
I have.
Okay.
too.
I love Disneyland.
Well, do you love Anaheim?
I mean, I love Disneyland.
There came a point in my life. It was a fun place to grow up. You know, a lot of things to do as a younger person. But once I became an adult, I realized, I'm always going to be poor here. So
Yeah.
I thought maybe I could move somewhere with a little better quality of life and not be stuck in traffic and poor all the time.
Oh,
So that's how I ended up in Atlanta. It's funny because at the time I would tell locals, I wanted to move to a small town. And they would all say, so you moved to Atlanta?
Yeah.
Because they all thought it was the big city.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, in 1991, it was adorable. I really loved it. And it's been great for me.
Mhm.
I don't have anything bad to say, except that these days I feel a little bit like everything I fled Los Angeles to get away from, it's kind of followed me.
So now you're going to have to pick the next place.
I am. And it's got to be smaller than Atlanta was in 91. It has to be so small that it'll never catch up to me.
Well, you can move my wife's hometown. She is from farm country in Illinois. It's got a population of 250 people. It's
I
called
like it.
New Holland, Illinois.
Okay.
They have one bar.
Yeah.
you can open the second.
You could. Well, they did have a second one that keeps opening and closing. So maybe you could find the secret sauce.
Maybe. Or maybe I could just retire and become a gentleman farmer.
You could.
Grow my own food.
You
Raise
could.
my own livestock.
So how did you settle on Atlanta? Was it just literally, this sounds like a cool town?
I'll tell you how. The one thing Los Angeles absolutely has going for it, and nobody can deny this, is that the weather's kind of perfect there.
Yes.
Basically 72 degrees year round. And so I was raised with that and I was spoiled. And so I thought, okay, well, I have to pick somewhere that doesn't have horrible weather because I knew like 6 months of snow would not cut it for me. And I was born in Massachusetts, and my father brought the whole family out to California when I was just a tiny baby because he would watch the Rose Parade on New Year's and he'd be shoveling snow and everybody out there was wearing shorts and he'd say, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So we moved to California when I was 2.
Okay.
And then I lived there until my late 20s when I moved to the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia.
Seems like a good choice from LA. I mean,
Here's the thing. Before I came, I thought I really want to move to a small town. So I flew into Raleigh, Durham, and I rented a car, and I did a driving tour of the Southeast based on its weather. And I went to a lot of nice small towns, but I was still in my 20s, and I thought, okay, this is cute, but I think I might go out of my mind if I lived here now. And then Atlanta was the last stop, and I thought, okay, this totally seems doable. And quite frankly, at the time in 1991, Atlanta bar time was 4 a.m. They had 24-hour nightclubs. There was a strip club on every corner. There was a great nightlife and party scene. And so I'm like, okay,
It was the place to be.
I can do this. I
Yeah.
can do this. Actually, the nightlife in Atlanta in 91 was way better than the nightlife in Los Angeles. So as a young man, I thought, yeah, it's for me.
Yeah, I
Sure.
can see that. As somebody in their early to mid 20s, I can definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the big haunts back in the 90s? Are there any of them that are still around today?
Oh, this is going to make my old brain hurt. That's
If that's too much recall, we can...
well, what I can recall is based on the location of the Midtown Vortex, which is on Peachtree Street between 7th and 8th. Caddy corner to our current location used to be the Stein Club, which was originally opened in the early 60s, and it was just the diviest dive bar. It was just smoking and drinking. There was no food. And Monday night was the big night at the Stein Club because I think they had $2 pitchers of beer.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a super awesome place. And it marketed itself as the alternative to the Buckhead bar scene, because in the early 90s, Buckhead was a giant entertainment destination, but it tended to be a little more on the like fratty side. And the Stein Club was more on the divey side.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, man, I spent plenty of nights in the Stein Club. And then caddy corner the other direction was the famous Backstreet nightclub, which was a 24-hour nightclub. So if last call came at 4 and you got kicked out and you still didn't want to go home, you just go over to Backstreet. And there were numerous mornings where I stumbled out of there at 8 o'clock in the morning, just stinking of smoke and booze. And you see the people commuting to work. And I'm like, I got to get home and get to bed.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of places like that. And the beauty of it back then, I think, was every place was an independent. There wasn't a chain to be found anywhere.
Sure.
Because it was still too gritty, I guess.
Is that Stein Club still around?
Oh, gosh, no. It's a giant gleaming condo tower now called Metropolis.
Bummer. That sounded right up my alley.
And Backstreet is also a gleaming condo tower. When we moved into our space, people thought we were crazy because it was really a sketchy area, a sketchy stretch of Peachtree. And now we're just surrounded by condo towers and office towers.
Posh.
Yeah, very posh
surroundings.
We're the throwback to the good old days.
So how did you start your own business? Like, did you come here specifically for that reason, that in mind?
To start a restaurant?
No, I came here to get out of LA. That was really my only reason. And the weather was halfway decent. I like the 4 seasons because none of them are harsh. So it's nice to have a little, like we get one snow a winter and no one goes to work.
Yeah, that's the best part.
You're right.
The whole city shuts down.
Especially as a bar owner, because we get very, very busy during snow days.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I just wanted to get out of Los Angeles. And unbeknownst to me, my brother and sister were both over Los Angeles as well. So I had moved here, and then 6 months later, my brother came to visit. I was still doing freelance graphic design because that's what I did. I was an artist out in California. And he came to visit and said, well, you know what? Since you like it here, maybe I'll move back here too. And I was shocked because first I had no idea that he would want to, and I thought he lived with a woman, but apparently he didn't, or they had broken up.
A falling out of some sort.
Yeah, so he just went back to California, packed up his little truck, and drove back here, and we rented a little mid-century brick ranch in Brookhaven, which was very blue collar at the time, and I was still freelancing. He had worked in the grocery business for 18 years. He didn't know what he wanted to do here. I was kind of over doing the graphic design thing. And because of the nightlife, the way it was in the early 90s, I don't know how it happened. We had a conversation about maybe instead of getting jobs, we should open a bar because
why not?
That seems like
You
more
like
fun
them, yeah.
than going to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was the entire thought process behind opening a bar, was that it just sounded better than going out looking for a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And so we called our sister up, who we knew didn't like LA because she had left one time before. She moved to British Columbia, and then she moved back to LA. And so we called her.
The world traveler there.
Yeah.
Well,
my sister is
North American traveler.
Yeah, she's been all over the place. So we said, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing is opening a little bar in Atlanta. And we said, why don't you take a flight, come on out and visit us? And if you like the city, maybe you want to think about joining us back here and opening the bar. Well, this will date when this was in the early 90s. She called us back in a little bit and she said, well, I talked to my travel agent. And,
Wait, what's a travel agent?
All the flights are real expensive. So if the two of you guys like Atlanta, I'm sure I'll like it too. And she packed up her little truck and drove to the house that we had rented. And we all three shared this little brick ranch house. And I think we had already rented the space, which was tiny. The original Vortex was on the corner of West Peachtree and 11th Street, and it was, the size of a bedroom. And we thought, if we can't make a go of it in this tiny space, then maybe we shouldn't be in the bar business. So we were the staff. Initially, we hired a couple of cooks, and we were the bartenders and servers.
Were there a lot of other people doing that same thing around that time, trying to open up bars in that area?
Like I said, well, not in the area. There was nothing in the area. The entire neighborhood of Midtown back in the early 90s, people thought, this area is not great. It was sketchy. And it was a little bit post-apocalyptic in the evenings because everybody would hop in their cars and drive back out here to the northern suburbs. And so there was no one in the city in the evenings, which I thought was great. I mean, there used to be, again, I'll date myself. There used to be these packs of rollerbladers that would just rollerblade through the streets because there was no traffic. And they would always pop in, to the bar and visit with us. And same thing, like groups of motorcyclists. They started coming because at the time, my sister and I both rode motorcycles. And so when we were working, they would be parked out on the road. And whenever bikers see bikes, they want to know what's going on. So
instead of rollerbladers now, you probably have a lot of those bird scooters, right?
Well, that's a new thing that's happening that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I mean,
they just passed that ordinance.
Making it illegal to ride them on the sidewalks,
right?
Which is probably good since I've been hit by 3 of them
no
so
kidding.
far. Yeah.
Huh.
And they're everywhere. They're everywhere. It's getting really kind of crazy in the city.
Were you worried when you picked that location to open it, especially if it kind of became dead at night?
Our goal was to try and create a destination location, which luckily enough, it did indeed become that.
Right.
And again, there wasn't much else. There was a burrito place on Peachtree near us, and there was, what else was around us? There really wasn't much. So in that regard, we kind of had the market cornered a little bit, And at the time, most people living in the city were artist types, musicians, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So it made it real fun.
Mm-hmm. And the name Vortex came from your passion for illustration. Is that correct?
That's right. Vortex was a word I always used to kick around, and I would always like to include it in different cartoons and stuff that I did. And I loved the definition of it. Everything eventually gets sucked into the vortex, and that's how it's worked out for us.
I feel like that suits the restaurant pretty well.
Yeah, well, also, since we opened it with no money, we didn't have any budget for decor. So before we opened, we had a party with all of our artist friends, and it was a bring us your crap party. And they all did, and that became the original decor of the bar. And we've continued to compile stuff in that way. I restored a lot of pieces and put them up, and even today, customers will still say, "Hey, I've got this thing. I got this moose head. My wife hates it. Want me to bring it in?" I'm like, "Yeah, bring it."
Sweet.
So the decor is very eclectic, and it's authentic though. It's not like, well, we'll just buy a container full of knickknacks.
Or go to Home Goods.
Yeah. No, it was everything about it is 100% authentic, and it continues to be to this day. And it's still a little family business. Still me and my brother and sister run it, and we're still involved on a daily basis. And people are like, well, why haven't you opened a ton of them? And it's like, well, that's not really why we did it.
Wasn't the goal,
Yeah, we just want to have fun. More of them would be just a lot of stress. Because I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned this to you on your podcast, but running restaurants is a giant pain in the ass.
Well, that's what I keep hearing. I keep asking people, can I get advice about opening my own restaurant?
The best advice is don't do that.
And that's what everyone keeps telling me. So I don't know.
Well, we got a lot of that same advice before we opened. We just didn't listen to anybody, mostly because we didn't know any better or didn't care, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, people are always willing to give you advice, but you got to do what you want.
So did any of you have a background in food? Had any of you,
or
worked
owning a business even?
Owning a business? Like,
absolutely not. No, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. We all enjoyed going to bars and nightclubs, and who doesn't like eating? But no, like I said, my brother was in the grocery industry for 18 years. My sister did a million different jobs. And I think at one time she was actually a buyer for a deli, but she didn't have a career in food. And I had always been an artist. I worked in printed arts and film and did all that kind of stuff. So we had absolutely no idea what we were getting ourselves into. We just thought, hey, let's open a bar.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
So how did you start with the menu? Has it always been as eclectic as it is now?
It was probably smaller initially. When we first decided to open a bar, we weren't even really planning on doing food at all. Because the Stein Club, like I said, that was there and they didn't have any food. And we thought, we just want to be a bar. But then we realized, here's the thing. First of all, we don't want people to get too drunk, drinking on an empty stomach. And we don't want people to leave if they do get hungry to go get food. So what we had noticed at the time was that there was no place in Atlanta anywhere that we could find where you could get a really good hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, this is easy. This is something we won't need to hire a chef to produce, and we can just pick the ingredients and develop this menu ourselves, and hopefully people will like it. And people did. I mean, the Vortex burgers became pretty famous pretty quickly, and we, for years and years and years, we won every reader's poll for best burgers. These days, as you probably know, there's a million burger restaurants in Atlanta and probably up here too.
Mm-hmm.
It's become quite shishi. It's quite the thing to do. But, people have referred to the Vortex as the godfather of Atlanta burger joints.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. We were the originator of bringing that kind of thing to the city.
Did you start off with just one burger? Because now, I mean, you have, a whole list of different toppings and everything. When the initial inception, was it just burger with cheese and toppings?
Actually, originally, I think how we originally presented them was build them yourself, build your own, like here's a list of toppings. But what we found was that people were hesitant to do that for whatever reason. So that's when we started concocting our own variations on the burger. And we found that it just sold better that way. If someone read a description, they thought, oh, this sounds fun, they would order it. Instead of, if you just have all the ingredients, they'll probably just order cheeseburgers or bacon cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
So, and everything we do is a little bit over the top. That's kind of the point. We built the Vortex as a secret hideout for ourselves to go and be bad. And then we just wanted to offer that same option to all the, patrons that we welcome in to the place. Come on, it's a little secret hideout. And it really was a little secret hideout.
Yeah.
It was tiny. We had no advertising budget. We grew it by word of mouth. And it was great. Worked out great. Again, I go back to, it's totally authentic. It's a legitimate, authentic little thing that happened. And it's been very rewarding over the years, even though you're constantly putting out fires when you own a bar or restaurant. There's always something. There's so many moving parts.
Sure.
Yeah.
So did you guys just sit around in your kitchen one night like, all right, if we're going to make it more than just a build your own burger place, what are we going to do from here? Like, where did you develop the full menu?
It was, we kind of did it over time. We did it with input from our customers. We did it with input from our cooks. We would just have meetings. A lot of times what we would do is just notify all the purveyors, listen, bring in these ingredients. We want to taste them. And the way we would pick everything, which is not a very business-like way at all, we would just taste everything and we would say, that's the best one. That's the one we want to use. We never looked at well, what's the price per slice or per unit? Or because apparently, I guess we're just bad business people. But all we did was everything that we developed for the menu was based on, do we like this?
Yeah. Makes
And-
sense. I mean, if you wouldn't eat it, why serve it?
Right, exactly. And we've done our best over the years to keep the quality up and to keep the prices as reasonable as possible. And that's a feat in itself. You know,
What's your favorite item on the menu?
there are so many items on the menu.
Have you tried them all?
Oh my gosh, I've lived on Vortex food for the past 27 years. So I maintain my girlish figure. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're known for our burgers, and there's so many good burgers. And my favorites tend to switch from time to time. I'll get into a mode where this is my favorite and I eat it all the time. Some people have been coming in for years and years and years and get the same thing every single time.
I mean,
they
if it's
come
not
in.
broke, why fix it, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Which has made it very difficult to ever swap anything out
Oh, true.
because anytime we alter the menu, somebody
There's someone.
cries.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah. People get really attached to that,
They
especially
do.
with your history. And
Right.
I mean,
So we've kind of stopped. We're at a point where we kind of don't. We run specials, and that's a way we can present new stuff to people. But
Mhm.
we're really not going to alter the menu that much more. I can't imagine.
So you did bring some food with you for us to taste.
Well, it was a request. I understood. I understood it was a request. I thought, man, we're going to drive this Atlanta food all the way up to where we're in Alpharetta.
Alpharetta.
Yeah.
wherever we are.
That's a haul. So I cannot guarantee how well it has traveled, but yes, there it is. There it is.
I'm just going to start opening it up,
do it.
digging in.
Yeah, dig in, and hopefully I can explain what we have.
So this is in a plastic bag. Inside the plastic bag is a black styrofoam container.
Sure.
Wow. What presentation?
There you are.
It's beautiful.
Oh,
And this is
see, that doesn't look like it traveled well. But that is called a mac and cheesy changa.
okay.
And that is an appetizer. And what that is basically we make a big batch of macaroni and cheese, and then we take another big batch of our pulled pork, and we wrap them all together in a flour tortilla,
Okay.
and then we deep fry the whole thing because deep frying makes everything better.
Yes.
And then we slice it into 4 pieces so you can share it with your 3 best friends. And there's a side
type of sauce here?
barbecue sauce to dip it in. And then I think the other sauce might be a spicy ranch. And the idea is it's like shoving an entire barbecue meal in your mouth all at the same time.
Makes it easy, convenient.
Right.
Good.
No fun. Even
Yeah.
after
Speechless.
even after an hour commute, not bad.
It's still good. And I just had lunch not too long ago. So I'm gonna
Doesn't matter.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna stomach through it.
Yeah, so that's a very popular appetizer.
Do you want some of this, Michael?
Well, I might take a bite.
You might as well. I mean,
You know what? It's quality control. It's
Right.
really my job to just to see how this does travel. After an hour in a car, is this still palatable? You know, I just want to say this since we're talking about to-go food at the Vortex. We are first and foremost a neighborhood bar,
mhm.
and we do offer takeout, but only secondary to our in-house patrons. So if we get really busy, if we're in a peak period,
Mhm.
we suspend takeout because we want to serve the people who actually got off their butts and came in to see us. So sometimes they'll answer the phone and somebody will say, "Oh, I want to place a takeout order," and they're like, "I'm sorry, we're too busy right now."
Well, and you guys are very upfront about not only that rule, but excuse me, all of your rules. You really spell it out ahead of time so people know what to expect and not to,
Yeah.
to get pissed off, when
Absolutely.
something like that comes up.
That transparency has been my number one priority since day one. And that all started because, again, it goes back. This is good after an hour. It's not
Yeah.
bad.
No, it's
And there's nothing better than chewing into a microphone. That's
Yeah.
a good podcast.
yeah.
Right there.
Daniel will have fun in post on this one.
What was I saying?
Transparency.
Transparency.
Oh, yeah.
with the rules.
So, yeah, the thing is, because none of the 3 of us did have any experience in the bar or restaurant business, the day we experienced our first rude customer, we were taken aback. We're like, wait, what? This is our business. We're inviting you in and you're going to come in here and be rude to us? That doesn't make sense to me. And now you talk to anybody that's worked in customer service or hospitality, they will tell you there is a percentage of the population that has no idea how to behave
Oh, yeah.
when they go out. But I just didn't ever really realize that because I guess I was raised right.
Mhm.
You have manners, yeah.
And so we created the idiot-free zone, which is we declared the Vortex to be an idiot-free zone, which basically meant we'll be nice, you be nice. If you act like an idiot, we'll just ask you to leave. It's just that simple.
That's fair.
And so that was the first rule that we put on our menu. And it was sitting there on the cover of our menu by itself for a little bit of time. And then what happened was every single time I would meet another idiot would come in and do something that would blow my mind that somebody would actually do. I would say, okay, well, I need to address this. And so that's how we now, as you're well aware, the rules for the Vortex cover the front and back covers of the menu.
Mhm.
But the reality of the situation is decent people who know how to behave when they go out. There's nothing unusual in these rules. I'm sure they're the policies of most bars and certainly most independent bars. The only thing that's different is we've chosen to be super transparent about it and put them where everybody can see them. And there's even more policies on the website, which I always direct people to. Because again, we're not trying to fool anybody into coming to the Vortex. We want you to know what to expect.
Yeah.
And the fact is people kind of love it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, before you could download those sheets from our website, people used to steal them. We were constantly replacing the rules.
You need to get
pages.
like the 10 Commandments or something.
Chiseled in.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I guess you don't really have that problem now, but
No. Now
get a time machine, go back in time. That's an idea for you.
Everything's available to download off of our website. So yeah, and the beauty is, what has happened over the past 27 years that we've been in business is we have developed a clientele of extremely awesome people.
Mhm.
Now, I thought by posting these rules, it would keep idiots out entirely. That's not the case. They still show up. But our good clientele really appreciates the fact that we don't let them spoil the fun for everybody else.
Sure. Well, let's keep going on some of this food.
All right.
Let's, again, we have another clear plastic bag. It says thank you on the front.
Thank you. See, because we're very appreciative and polite.
And it looks like some various condiments, some plastic silverware, if that's what you call it.
Sure.
This one I'll open up.
That looks like is that a veggie burger patty?
That does look like a veggie burger. It looks like it doesn't look like meat.
Okay, that's a veggie burger. What is
Veggie burger? Okay.
Guacamole.
Good to know.
Oh, the holy guacamole.
Thanks.
It is ironic that we have one of the most famous, if not the most famous, burger place in Atlanta, and we have our vegetarian. And we also are joined in studio by
A vegan.
a vegan who's not on the mic today. Kimberly's in the back just observing, but it is funny.
Wait, it's funny. There's more of those people around every day.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing, and I mean, we are primarily a bar and burger joint, but we know sometimes vegetarians come out with their carnivore friends.
Oh, yeah,
and
we do.
So we have the veggie patty that you can sub out, and we're carrying the Impossible Burger patty that you can also sub out for
That's
beef.
exciting.
And you can do, I mean, depending on, not that this is vegan or vegetarian, but you can also sub out chicken as well if you're not a beef eater.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I personally appreciate the option, obviously, because I like going to the Vortex. I like the whole atmosphere, but being able to eat something besides fries, I appreciate too.
Right.
So thank you.
There was a time where every single item on the menu had meat in it. There really was, including the salads.
Oh, no. That's sad.
Because we were carnivore centric. But we're always listening to our good customers.
Yeah.
We want to, obviously we're business owners. We want to please our core clientele. So we do what we can, which interestingly enough, segue, right now, we are conducting an online survey about our current smoking policy. Because as a secret hideout where you go to be bad, of course we've allowed smoking since day one. Well, 27 years later, trends have changed, times have changed, people's habits have changed. And so we thought, let's find out what our customers think about our smoking policy, which, by the way, is you can smoke cigarettes or vape at the bar only. We don't allow smoking at tables. But the fact of the matter is, if you're smoking at the bar, there's smoke inside.
Yeah.
Well, and because of that, the smoking policy, you have to be 21 in order to get into the Vortex.
Yes, it's kind of a convoluted process as to what happened. I can give you a brief rundown if
Sure.
you've got the time.
We got nothing but time.
All right. When we first opened in the teeny tiny space we originally opened in, there were no smoking regulations regarding bars, as the good Lord intended, actually. But so it was smoking. It was a bar that you went to smoke and drink.
So that's what you did.
That's what we did. Then at some point, I don't know, a year or two in, we got a visit from a code enforcement officer who came in to inform us that the city council had passed legislation saying that we had to, because we served food, we had to declare 50% of our seating to be non-smoking.
Right.
And so I asked him, I said, okay, the place was tiny, right? Like the size of a bedroom. I said, I would like you to point out to me which tables will be protected from smoke by posting a non-smoking sign.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't care. Just, it's got to be 50%. I don't care what you do, where you do it. It has to be 50% of the seats. So it was a tiny, tiny space with a bar downstairs and a little loft area upstairs. So we decided, since everybody sitting at the bar would smoke, we'd make the loft area upstairs the non-smoking area. And of course, that's exactly where all the smoke would rise up. Until.
Sure.
So that's how it was. And then we opened Little 5 Points in 96. So we had that same 50% smoking, 50% non-smoking policy. And we allowed all ages, because even though it was a bar, we're big advocates of freedom of choice. And we're like, listen, if you want to bring your baby to a bar, that's your decision. Take my baby.
Yeah.
And in the early days, in fact, my marketing and media manager, Colin's mom, used to bring him in, set him up on the bar top all the time. So anyway, we opened Little 5 Points, same policy. Then we moved the original space in Midtown from the tiny space to the space we're at now. Still, again, 50% smoking, 50% non-smoking. And then it was in 2005 that the state passed the smoke-free, what was it called? The Smoke-Free Air Act of 2005. And it was meant to be an outright ban, and it would have been an outright ban, except one clever legislature who was sick of hearing this bullshit about, we have to protect the children, because that's how restrictive legislation always gets passed.
Sure.
We have to protect the children. So he, at the last moment, he said, well, what about bars and restaurants that don't allow children? Can't they continue to offer the option to smoke? And that got put into the legislation, much to the dismay of a lot of anti-smoking zealot types, I'm sure. So that was our choice. The state forced us, at that point in time, the state forced us to make a choice. You either allow your patrons to smoke or you don't allow children. Well, since we were a bar designed for adults, the choice was not difficult to make.
Sure.
And as it turns out, what we found out was people were like, yeah, it's great that we can still smoke here, but it is awesome that there are no kids in here now. That was the really popular end of that legislation. And so since 2005, that's been it. It's been a child-free zone, and there was still 50% was smoking. As I said, we recently reduced it down to just smoking at the bar. But we've realized that such a small percentage of our clientele smokes anymore. We're thinking, what are we doing? Yeah. In fact, I was in the middle of a rainstorm the other day, and I'm walking into the Vortex Midtown, and there was a woman outside on the patio smoking under an umbrella. And I said, you can smoke in the bar inside. Mm-hmm. And her response was, I know, but I don't want to bother anybody. And that tends to be smokers nowadays. That's kind of the way they look at it. I don't want to be a bother. So we thought, all right, well, how can we find out for sure what our patrons and potential patrons might think? And so we have right now, live online, we have a survey that if you go to our website, which is www.thevortexatl.com, and you click on either of there's a link for Midtown and a link for Little 5 Points, and then you go there and it shows our smoking policy, and then below that is a link. You can take this survey. And anybody who's listening to this, I'd really appreciate it. The survey is going to be live through the end of January, and we want to get as much input as we possibly can. So the big news is there is the potential. I'm not going to say definitely one way or another right now, but there is the potential for the Vortex, after 27 years in business, to be a smoke-free
Zone.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I mean,
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is.
And we're kind of one of the last holdouts,
Mhm.
really.
Well, I was wondering, most of the restaurants I go into, bars, whatever, in Atlanta or anywhere around here, I mean, none of them have smoking. So are there any left?
I don't really, there are probably, you could probably count them on one hand if there are any at all. I can't say for a fact by name. I can't name them.
But there's still a few around.
But there are still a few around. And I mean, here's the beauty of the free market. If that's what they've decided is their niche, that's their niche, and they should be allowed to do it. So I think it's great. The thing about this state law, too, is that any municipality can make a stricter law, which I think like Decatur has. There's no smoking anywhere in Decatur. A lot of municipalities have taken that to heart and done that. Atlanta, for whatever reason, has never done it. Atlanta is just sticking to the state law.
Yeah.
But I would prefer to see it become something people do voluntarily because they think it's what their customers want than to have a mandate.
Sure.
I'm not really a big fan of mandated behavior.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep diving into some of this food.
Just keep
That was a good segue. As most of our episodes are, just kind of a hodgepodge of different things going on. So we have, it looks like another burger here.
Is that a real burger made with cow?
That's a real burger,
Yeah.
a real cow burger with tater tots.
And it looks like
Is it a horseman?
Oh,
The four horsemen?
the four horsemen
Yeah.
of the apocalypse. Yeah.
So this looks like mushrooms on it, some cheese.
I think that's a big gob of blue cheese.
Holy cow.
Big blue cheese spread.
Again, it's probably awesome that I'm chewing right into the microphone.
Yeah, eating on podcasts is always a great idea.
I know.
Which
I
is
took one
funny
bite.
that's our whole premise of the show.
Food.
Well, interestingly enough, we were conducting our own little podcast called Vortex Radio for quite some time, and it's still up. You can still listen to old editions of it. But we would eat and drink on every episode, which made for lovely podcasting. And one of our
That's good,
He's
really.
enjoying that burger.
wow, that's
I'm just going for it.
man, that's
Can you open this, Kathleen?
Yes.
Kathleen, will you wipe his face? Yeah, that is embarrassing.
First time on video, too.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean,
Oh.
there's really no easy way to eat that.
No, you know what? Our burgers
you.
are big and sloppy, and that's the way a burger should
And
be.
you forgot delicious. That is a very good burger.
Good.
It
I'm
tastes
so
like
glad.
it tastes like horseradish, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that even
Oh
though
wow, I had a lot of stuff on my
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
I'm getting on the pop screen.
It's getting messy in here.
it's getting messy.
Sorry, I like to have a good time.
One thing that you don't do on your podcast, which we did on ours, was we encourage people to drink copious amounts of alcohol. And so some of our podcasts are ridiculous.
We've had one where we drank wine out of a plastic cup.
Out of like
The
reusable.
bathroom cup, you know,
Yeah.
like the
Solo
paper.
cup?
Wine out of a solo cup.
Yeah, I don't really know why we did that. We were interviewing someone in the wine industry.
Yeah.
And so we decided to taste it.
Interviewing
and-
someone in the wine industry. I had a friend who worked at a grocery store that sold wine, so he was our
Right.
expert.
So was it wine in a box that you poured into a Dixie cup?
No,
Was
it
that-
was in a bottle.
It was
I think
wine from CVS or
warm.
something.
Okay,
It wasn't
perfect.
good.
Perfect. Wine from a drugstore.
The closest place to here, so it was good. No, I mean, I would have loved to have had some alcohol. Not that this isn't an enjoyable experience.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
Well,
do-
I mean,
do
we're a
like
bar,
drinking.
and so that was part of our shtick. And sometimes our guests would get very drunk, and other times I would get very drunk. There were a few guests. In hindsight, I feel bad. I'm like, oh, I kind of gave them a hard time because I was drunk.
Can you imagine trying to bring, if the food was difficult bringing up here,
Mhm.
bringing up the drinks too?
I'm not sure about the legality of that either.
Yeah.
That too.
That's
Maybe if
been
you put it in
frowned
the
upon.
trunk, you know, if you can't reach
Hey,
it.
you know what? Something else I want to mention that I brought up. Not only did I bring up our old delicious Vortex food, but I brought presents because
Oh,
it's
what?
so close to Christmas, and I
Oh.
look a little bit like Santa.
Yeah.
So I'll pass them out, and you can do with them what you will. I don't know how you're going to distribute. I will leave it to AJ and Kathleen to decide how to disperse them
Sure.
amongst your crew. But we got some cool stuff. In fact, In fact, I'm going to show you two of the coolest things we have.
I'm
And
cool.
speaking of drinks,
Yeah.
we have specialty cocktails at the Vortex, specialty drinks
Yeah.
that you can only get at the Vortex Bar and Grill. And one of them is called the Hypnotizer. And it is a fruity rum drink that will really make you want to party.
Okay.
And it comes in
A cool, funky glass.
It comes in a cool, funky ceramic tiki glass.
Oh.
And these are super awesome collector's items.
Oh.
So these two items are the ones that you two are going to probably fight over
Okay.
and probably will not share with anyone because they're awesome.
Those are
Look at
that is
Cool.
super badass.
That's very cool.
Right? A
It's the
giant
big
porcelain,
The logo,
Vortex.
the Vortex
So-
skull.
Who came up with? Was that you that came up with the skull?
Because I was a graphic designer in a previous life.
Mhm.
And I've always loved skulls for whatever weird reason. I don't know why, ever since I was a small child.
Sure.
The first logo
That's
for the
cool.
Vortex was not a skull. When we very first opened, it was the word Vortex with a spiral behind it because I grew up in California and I was moving to the South. And the only thing people in California know about the South is that it's full of rednecks and Christians, and it's like deliverance here everywhere.
That is
Yeah,
the
I mean,
stereotype.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in California, literally, that's all they know about the South. And I didn't know much more, apparently. So I just wanted to be conservative with our first design. And then once I got here and realized how awesome everyone was, I'm like, well, now we need a cooler.
Just breaking down those barriers.
Exactly.
Especially in Atlanta, yeah.
Dude,
Or breaking down those misconceptions.
Southerners are some of the most charming, decent people. Talk about shitty people. Los Angeles is full of shitty people.
I'm not originally from here, but Kathleen is. So
I am. I agree.
Isn't that right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, if you do any traveling, in fact, I was so jaded having grown up in Los Angeles that when I got here and people were being pleasant to me, my immediate reaction was,
What do they
what do
want?"
you want
Yeah.
from me? Why are you talking to
Oh
me?
yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I got used to the fact that people are just nice.
Yeah. That's why I like Atlanta because it is the South, but it is more, what's the word I'm looking for?
not the South.
Progressive?
Yeah.
It's metropolitan,
Metropolitan.
metropolitan,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit.
Mhm,
But the
mhm.
problem with that is you might get a bunch of Yankees coming down here ruining everything.
Oh, I know. Tell me all about it.
Now, when I came here from the West Coast, my goal was to assimilate.
Hmm.
Right, I was fleeing the West Coast. I
Mhm.
wanted to, and I believe I feel that I am Southern now.
Mhm.
I've incorporated y'all into my vocabulary.
That's
Yeah.
one of the big things for
That
me
is.
too. That was a recent addition
Yeah.
because I've been here 6 years, something like that, and I was adamant I'm not going to say y'all, but now
You
I
say
don't
it all the time.
I do say it all
It's
the time.
it's a good word.
Yeah.
It works. It's better than you guys,
Oh, so much better.
right?
That's what I used to say
Yeah.
all
yeah.
the time.
So the South is lovely. Atlanta's very nice. It's just getting too big. It's getting a little too big, and
It
the
is.
gentrification makes me sad because you know what? As I was talking about earlier, back in the early '90s, and obviously before that, everything in Atlanta was authentic and individual and independent. And now every time I see a new Taco Bell opening up in Midtown, it hurts my soul just a little bit. And then independent places are moving out to the suburbs now, where it used to be the opposite. The suburbs were the place where the chains were, and the city was the place where all the independents were. But like Fourth and Swift, I think, has moved up here to Alpharetta. Jay Swift, he had a restaurant really right across from Pond City Market, and he came up here. And a lot of chefs are kind of moving out of the city. One of the reasons is because the rents and the taxes
yeah.
and just the expense
Sure.
is so high that it's hard if you're not a chain. If you don't have corporate money behind you, it's
Mhm.
tough to do it.
And now you're coming out to the suburbs to do podcasts.
To do podcasts,
Just-
I know. I can't wait to see what the traffic is like driving back
Going
into
back,
the city
oh,
from
yeah.
Alpharetta.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yes, this is the original Hypnotizer tiki mug that you can get with or without the drink. You don't have to get the drink, but I highly recommend getting the drink in it.
Sure.
And just for Christmas, we printed a Black Friday limited edition collector's item because we won't ever print any more of these. And that's this one. It's the
Oh.
same guy. but with
Whoa.
a flat
black
glaze
mat
with a bright red interior.
Look at that.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool, right?
That is pretty intense.
So I'll leave it to you two to fist fight over these.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
And then I have a bag full of other little odds and ends.
Oh, sweet.
I have some.
That's so cool.
Oh, well, here, let's do this. I've got the two coffee mugs that we do.
Oh.
Just a simple black one with the logo on it and our trademark, I got sucked into the vortex on the back.
Well, I don't know if any of these are going to make it into the
Yeah,
rest of the
no.
public.
And then back in the day, we still have this T-shirt as well because my sister and I rode motorcycles and basically rode to work every day. We had the Vortex Motorcycle Club.
Did you have a sidecar?
No, I'm
Not into that?
not into that.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm trying to be so politically correct. And the slogan for the Vortex Motorcycle Club is because it's never too late to start wasting your life.
Huh.
So we have a little coffee mug with,
I dig
with
that.
logo
That's
on
very
there.
cool.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about the fact that the Vortex is an official idiot-free zone. So I brought you idiot-free zone pins.
Wow.
Thank you.
Fun, good times, good times.
I like that. I'm going to put that in my
And,
car.
Yeah.
These are just standard little Vortex logo
Okay.
pins. That's fun, good times. Oh, and here's a pin. This is something I haven't talked about yet, and I don't know if you do edit this. Do you bleep? Are there going to be bleeps in here? 'Cause
No.
I'm not.
Just go for it.
Okay. In the Vortex Midtown, we have a sculpture that is known, it has its own hashtag. It's known as the Dick of Destiny.
Mm.
And it's a 3-foot-high phallus that we recommend that people rub for luck.
Okay.
You rub it, you make a wish, and it totally works.
So did somebody donate that one too?
I will tell you how this happened. Another good story.
Yeah.
We had two very loyal customers that had taken a vacation to Asia. And while they were on vacation, they were in this outdoor market that was selling a lot of religious iconography and sculptures and things. And they brought us back the original, what has become known as the Dick of Destiny. They brought us back an original one, which is small, maybe a foot high. And they said, well, we got this for you because we asked the guy who was selling it what this is about. And he said, well, it's about protection, and it's good for businesses because it will attract luck and money. And they said, so we thought we'd bring this for you. And we're like, awesome.
What a nice
thank
gesture.
you.
Yes.
So we took this little 1-foot-high wooden phallus and we put it behind the bar immediately among all the booze bottles. And I want to say it was within weeks that we were contacted by the television program Man versus Food.
Yeah. Yeah. With Adam something or other. Adam
Yes.
Savage.
Adam,
I don't know. He still doesn't.
Ugh.
I don't think he does it. He's actually vegan now, I think.
He is.
He got so fat doing that show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, he's in good shape now. So obviously, I think that was one of our early television exposures, and I thought that little tiny penis worked. So I thought, well, what can I do for our clientele?
Did the penis make it to the show? Like in the background, like in the filming?
You know what? I'm going to say no.
Oh, bummer.
People who make television are afraid of penises, no matter what size they
Yeah.
are.
Well, it could have blended in maybe. Anyway.
So anyway, I just thought, if that little penis gave us that much luck, I want to do something that will give our clientele all the luck.
Yeah.
So fortunately, a friend of mine that I met in the early days of moving here, super nice dude named John Woodson, who is a sculptor who works in wood and very talented. I drew a picture of what I would like him to sculpt for me. And he was like, yeah, I can do that. So we put it up. I think it's probably 4 or 5 years ago now. It actually went up on Easter Sunday. And it's shrine-ish. It looks like a shrine, and it has instructions on either side about kind of the background of the phallus and how it can give you luck.
And that's at Midtown?
That's in the Midtown. So
Okay.
in the little 5 points, we have the giant skull out front that
Right.
everybody takes their photograph with.
Yeah.
And in Midtown, we have the giant penis that everybody takes
I
their
have not
photograph
heard
with.
about the giant
I hadn't
penis
either.
as much as I've seen the giant skull.
Well, the skull's outside.
yeah.
Penis, you got to come
Well,
inside.
I don't. Instagram might ban the sculpture if you post it.
It's
No?
hashtag Dick of Destiny. I think
Okay.
there's photos of it up there.
Okay.
There's a hashtag.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole point of that story is here's a little Dick of Destiny pins
Oh,
for you
cool.
guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I was going to ask for a picture, but then I was like, is that weird if I ask for a picture of this wooden phallus? So,
You
no, I
just
appreciate it.
Go hashtag Dick of Destiny, man. You can pull up all kinds of pictures. Celebrities,
Oh, yeah?
little old ladies, everybody
Oh my
loves
God.
it.
This
Okay.
is awesome.
The funniest thing about it is it's right at the entrance and people will initially walk right by it without
Yeah,
seeing it.
just ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even notice. Don't even notice.
So if the change in the smoking law, if the poll,
Mhm.
goes through and you,
Right.
are
If
you-
everybody is like, yeah, ban the smoking,
are
that'd
you
be
going to
great.
take out the Dick of Destiny?
Are you out of your mind? What does that have to do with smoking?
Well, if kids start coming into
Oh,
Yeah.
the place,
There's the mistake you're making, sir. Your assumption is if we were to go non-smoking, that we would go back to an all ages format.
Oh.
You are out of your ever-loving mind.
Oh, you wouldn't?
Oh my God, no.
Oh, okay.
As
Oh.
I've explained, that was one of the most popular things we've
Oh.
ever done. Our client, in fact, the funny thing is a lot of people are mentioning in the survey, they're like, I don't really like smoking. I don't care either way. Just keep it an adults only place.
Okay, well, I just assumed that we're not going to allow smoking. We're going to open it up to anybody.
Just for the kids, like to have them.
No.
So
it's
this is
just
for
the
the
adult
adults.
patrons.
This is an adult establishment. It really always has been. But like I said, in the early days, we thought, you know what? Do what you want. You want to bring your kid? That's up to you. The thing that's interesting about that is there were times early on that customers would stop us and say, I just want to let you know that this bar is inappropriate for children. And we're like, yeah, it's a bar.
That's the
That's the point.
Yeah.
You brought your kid in here, not me. So, we would never go back. What, changing tables and high chairs at the Vortex? You lost your damn mind. No, that's not going to happen. Interestingly, the law stipulated, you were correct, AJ, when you said that the law stipulated you had to be over 18 to go into a place that allowed smoking. And so initially we made it 18 and over, and then that became the giant problem of first we had to card you at the front door to make sure that you were over 18. Then once you were inside at a table, we had to card you a second time if you ordered a drink to make sure. So it became so problematic. And then of course, groups of, six kids, 4 over 21, 2 under 21 come in and we say, listen, here's the thing. You can't drink. If we see you drinking, we're going to throw all of you out. Well, of course, they'd always try to drink.
Right.
So it was just, we don't want to play policeman. And we really do. If the legal drinking age was 18, that'd be great. But unfortunately, it's not. So we're a 21 and over bar for people to come in and engage in their favorite vices and have a good time and not be worried about, got to watch what I say, got to watch what I do. There's a little kid next to me. No, there won't be any children next to you. Strippers, maybe, any number of types of folks next to you, but not children.
Yeah.
Might be next to a very large object.
Yeah. A Dick of Destiny.
The Dick of
I wasn't
Destiny.
gonna say
you
it, but
you
yeah.
can say it. We've said it enough times
my
on the show
God.
that you can go
Kathleen,
for
I
it.
would appreciate it.
You're
if
turning
you
a little
would
red,
say it.
Kathleen.
Okay. It's like I'm talking to these two dudes about dicks, and then there's me. So
I highly recommend that at some point you go on and you search that hashtag.
Well,
And you'll see-
immediately after the show.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I
You'll
was
see
thinking.
how much joy it brings to people.
Yeah.
And that's really my ultimate goal is to bring people joy because whether or not you're aware of it, the Vortex is all about the love.
Okay.
That's what we do. Back in the old days, people used to see the rules and be like, why are you so rude to people? And it's like, we're totally not rude to people. We just don't want rude people in here. We want everybody in here to be nice to each other and have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's what the Vortex is all about.
Yeah.
So one question I had about you partnered with or had some type of partnership with Red Brick to do the
That is true. There is a beer out there in the world with our logo on it.
Yeah. Do you still do that? Because they just changed from Red Brick to Atlanta Brewing Company.
Correct. And they were originally Atlanta Brewing Company. They're all over the map, those guys. But and they just changed distributors actually this
Okay.
year. So it's always, we never know what's going on.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is there are 2 styles currently, and their plan for this year, 2019, is to try and expand that. And so we'll see. But yeah, we use that as our house beer. It's called Laughing Skull. and it's available in cans with our cool logo on it. And we also have the Laughing Skull Lounge, which is a full-time comedy club. In fact, the world's smallest full-time comedy club is in the back of the Vortex Midtown, just beyond the bathrooms.
Oh, why not? Sure.
How do you don't get to the big city much, do you? I can tell.
Yeah.
So that's always a good time. I mean, if you like stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have some big names coming through there?
They do. Actually, they do get big names, and sometimes they get giant names that would never be able to play a room that size because it's got a great reputation among comics, and they like it. And so, like, after they will be at the Fox or wherever they're playing, they'll pop in and do an impromptu secret set that the audience that's there had no idea this was going to happen. So that's always fun. And then they do a lot of Best of Atlanta shows, which features the up-and-coming comics in the city. It's a good time. And it's tiny room, so there's not a bad seat in the house, you know. But it's also an idiot-free zone, too, so hecklers get booted right out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
We just want everybody to play nicely together.
Yeah.
Can you talk about coronary bypass or what is it?
The coronary bypass.
Yeah. I'm kind
burger.
of surprised you didn't ask for that, AJ. I really am.
Well, you have like levels of it because there's the
Correct.
coronary bypass.
Correct.
The biggest one was the quadruple coronary
The
bypass.
quadruple coronary bypass, which we also call the super stack, is the one that's available as an eating challenge.
Well, I saw the picture of that online and it is ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
that's got to be like, what, 1.5 feet tall?
Yeah.
It's tall. It's big.
The whole dish weighs more than a baby, I'm
Oh,
sure.
God.
Oh, wow.
It's like 10,000 calories. Is it, Colin? Do you remember the calorie count?
Oh, it's 9,606.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but you know what we love at the Vortex? Ridiculous. Yeah. So it's an eating challenge. Only 2 gentlemen have ever beaten the challenge, and they were professionals.
Was one of them Adam? No.
Did they
No.
survive after? Were they
that's
okay
what they do.
after?
They're big burly guys, and that's what they do.
They were fine.
They were fine. They were
Oof.
great. Couldn't have been better. But yeah, we have there's the original coronary bypass, which was just on our menu all the time, and we did that as kind of a joke. It was because at the time when we first formulated that one in the media, it was all about how eggs and egg yolks are real bad for you. So we thought, well, we're going to put an egg on a burger, put a bunch of American cheese, a bunch of bacon.
Yeah.
And that's what we now call the classic coronary, which is available every day. And then there's a single coronary, a double coronary, a triple coronary, and the quadruple coronary. And I can't keep it straight, which is what, but I know one of them uses patty melts for the buns. One of them uses grilled cheese sandwiches for the buns. They're ridiculous, but super awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Do people order those a lot?
surprisingly, they do.
Do they do it kind of timidly, like, oh, I'm here, so let me do this, haha, but then get it and are like, oh, God, what did I do?
No, because you know what? You can always take it home,
Oh, that's true.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now-
as we've experienced, it's just as good an hour later.
And now we're way over an hour later.
Yeah.
too.
So, I mean, just keep it going.
You know, it is real food. That's the only issue. Like fast food, it's full of the chemicals that
Yeah.
it tastes exactly the same days later.
Yeah.
This, I just worry. I worry. No, anyway.
Tastes good to me.
Eat at your own risk, I guess.
Here's another couple of things.
Oh, cool.
These are awesome pewter bottle openers
Ooh.
that are also keychains.
Ooh.
Oh, and I just want to mention all this cool swag that I'm giving you for Christmas, for a belated Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
all available online for order, purchase online, and also in store.
That's good
So-
for our coworkers to know when they
Yes.
see
When-
ours.
Right,
Yeah.
when you won't
And
give
are
them
jealous.
anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. When they want their own.
Very cool.
Oh,
Very
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also brought
Oh, geez, more stuff.
more stuff. This you might share because sizes are involved.
Sure.
And these I think are all very small. I don't know if any of these will fit either one of you.
Okay.
But these are collectible shirts
Ooh.
that are no
Ooh.
longer in print.
Whoa.
So
That's big time.
consider yourself very, very,
Yeah.
very special. You might share these because, like I say, they're all pretty small.
Well, thank you.
But you can order. We have quite a line online of
I'm gonna
Vortex
take one
shirts.
of these out of here just to.
See what you got going. There's a bowling shirt in there
Oh.
that might
Holy
fit
cow.
you. I'm not sure. Oh, look, that's the
Oh,
Vortex Motorcycle Club
That's cool.
T-shirt.
Oh, I like the red hair. Very cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
So you guys made out like bandits.
We really
today.
did.
I mean, I was just expecting, have a burger,
Some food, yeah.
talk about some food, and now we got all this swag and
Yeah.
paraded around the office.
Yeah.
Show
Are
everybody.
people going to be super jealous
Oh yeah,
upstairs?
They will.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I told them we were getting food and they were jealous about that.
Yeah.
They didn't know all of the other stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, perfect. You say, you know what? You want this stuff? Go online, man. They'll ship it.
hmm
Yes, we will. We will.
So I was perusing going back to the cocktails. There's
Yeah.
some interesting names on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the acid trip or the absolute holy water.
Yes. Those are, I like both of those
Yeah.
drinks. The Absolute Holy Water is basically every flavor of Absolute mixed together. So it tastes like candy, only it will knock you down
No kidding.
and make you mumble.
That
Holy
sounds right
cow.
up my alley.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Do you have a partnership with Uber?
Well, we highly recommend that people
Yeah.
use it. Uber has been such a great boon for the
Yeah.
bar business because how awesome that you don't even have to worry about a designated driver or driving under the influence. It's been terrific. And it's also great because parking now in the city is problematic.
Yeah.
So I think a big number of our clientele is coming via Uber or
And you
Lyft.
probably pay just as much for parking as you would for
Yeah.
Right.
taking an Uber.
Right. There's no downside to
Yeah.
it. The Midtown Vortex is also very close to the Midtown MARTA station, so you can even take a train there. How
Oh.
cosmopolitan is that?
That is
Mhm.
pretty.
And then
I
stumble back
know.
home.
Yeah.
Pray
Well,
you
I'm
find your
not,
spot.
I live in Sandy Springs, so I'm not too far from the MARTA station.
Dude, what are you doing with your life?
I know. Maybe this weekend going to the Vortex.
Yeah.
I think that should be in the cards.
Yeah, totally. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
You are
Bringing all
very-
this stuff.
Very
Yeah,
welcome. Very welcome.
Now that everyone is sufficiently hungry and thirsty, where can they go to find you? The two locations.
Okay, well, yeah, there are two locations in Atlanta. The Midtown Vortex is at 878 Peachtree Street between 7th and 8th Streets, right in the heart of the, what do they call it? Not the Miracle Mile, that's Chicago. They call the Midtown Mile. They
Oh,
call
is that
it
what they call
Midtown
it?
Mile. That's what they call it.
I've
That's
never heard that before.
I
I'm
haven't
going to
either.
start using it.
You should.
Yeah.
So that's the Midtown location, and that's the larger of the two,
Mhm.
actually, and that's the one that has the Dick of Destiny in it.
Need to go there.
And then we have the famous Little 5 Points Vortex, which is much smaller, actually, but it sits behind the giant 25-foot-high Laughing Skull facade,
Hmm.
which people also love. And then, of course, www.thevortexatl.com is where you can find out everything you could possibly ever need to know and more about the Vortex. And our online store is there, so you can purchase whatever Vortex goodies you'd like. And again, what I would really appreciate folks doing, find the link to that smoking survey on there and let us know what you think, because that's what we're pondering these days.
And they can find that on the website.
Yeah. Everything's on there.
Yeah.
They'll find it. If they have an IQ,
If they're not an idiot.
if they're not an idiot, they will find the link.
The idiot-free website.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. And so for everyone out in lunch break land, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it now. Check us out on social media, Instagram, lunchbreak_podcast, on Twitter, lunchbreak_GA. Check us out on Facebook, just search Lunch Break. And then we also have a YouTube channel coming out. So search Lunch Break Podcast. You'll find it.
Yeah, they can see you eating that burger.
Oh, yeah.
That
It's
was
good.
glorious.
Yeah. So, Michael, thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Yeah.
having us. It's been quite the adventure driving out here to Europe, wherever we are.
And have fun driving back.
Thanks a lot.
And as always,
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry.
That episode was tasty.